So I left off last time with a really long day where Sarah and I got off of an overnight train and went out and saw a few sites, most notably Sanchi, and that was always going to be a really really hard day. Um, it's never easy to do a long day in the hot sun, but to get a sort of poor night of sleep beforehand, that can be really rough. So we treated ourselves to a heritage hotel. You can see the view on the left when we woke up that next morning. Um, this is after one night of rest, absolutely refreshed, and even got to take off a little bit late, which has been a rarity on this trip. Our first site was Binbetka, which you can see on the right over there, which is a series of rock enclosures that have a few Paleolithic and Mesolithic, as well as historical and medieval period rock pieces on them. Um, to the left here, you can see a sort of a boar creature. We're not exactly sure whether that's some sort of a realistic representation. It doesn't appear to be, as it appears to be goring much smaller human beings. Um, so there's a shot of Sarah and I, the modern versus the ancient. On the way back in, we stopped at the Bojeshwar Temple, which is notable for two things. The first is it was never quite completed, and so you can actually see what looks like a hill back here is a man-made ramp, and that ramp was used to slide bricks up and onto the structure itself when it was being built. To the right, you can see the largest Shiva lingam in all of India. So if you know what a Shiva lingam is, you just saw the biggest one online. So that was a suggestion by one of the facilitators on the India Institute, Dan. He also suggested a couple of things that I did on the previous day, Udayagiri and the Heliodorus column. And we were able to, since we had been so efficient on this day, hit one more site, which is the Bharat Bhavan. It was a modern art museum, along with sort of an artist community. You can see that on the right. It's a really interesting time. Not a lot of English, but a lot of good modern Indian art. We then made our way that night to Mumbai, where we're staying with a few friends of Sarah's from grad school, and that meant that we got to stay in a home and take a little bit of a rest. It also meant home-cooked meals, which have been another rarity on this trip. What you're looking at here is, which is kind of an masala scramble with chapatis, and that was just a fantastic way to wake up. Absolutely set the mood for what turned out to be a spectacular day. Sarah and I have been kind of sweating whether we were going to get to see Elephanta, and we actually did get to. The only thing we could find online is that things had been rained out a couple of days before on somebody's personal blog, and we knew there was a good chance that the ferries wouldn't be running to the island, as it's the monsoon season here. But we went ahead and headed down to, you can see here, the gateway into India. And we headed down there just to see if the ferries were running. Otherwise, we were going to go to a museum. And sure enough, they were running. So you can see us on the right here approaching Elephanta. Elephanta is just a really unique sort of spot. It's an island that's about an hour by ferry ride outside of Mumbai, which, by the way, is an absolutely gorgeous city. And once you get there, you get to see a rock temple, which is cut directly into the mountain itself. So to call it rock architecture is kind of maybe a little bit of a misnomer, though that's what a lot of books will do, in that, this is actually a cutting away, a subtraction from the mountain itself, leaving the pillars as supports there. So it was never actually constructed in that particular way, but it does use some of the rules of load bearing in terms of architecture. Really interesting stuff. Inside, you can see that you've got these absolutely massive sculptures, some of them in excess of 13 feet tall. But they're pretty badly damaged. While the island was under Portuguese occupation, a lot of the sculptures were destroyed or in many ways sort of damaged or defaced, and that continued under the British. There's Sarah looking at the up at the three heads of Shiva. This is a Shiva temple. And in this particular piece, you can see how large the main sort of sculptural feature is. Fortunately, this one survives in great condition, and I'll say this is the closest thing we're ever going to get to Sarah getting here a Temple of Doom experience. And we had just lucked out completely in terms of weather. The boats had been running that morning, and we got on, and it was a little bit choppy. And when we got there, it was pretty amazing. We didn't even make it up to the main structures, about 1 kilometer's walk in, before the rain just started pouring like crazy. And so we stopped and had lunch, and then we had to climb up a hill under these sets of awnings. And, water is dripping down these staircases. It really put a damper on the hawkers' business, which was good for us because a lot of them just decided to take the day off. We got to walk up, and on the way back down, as you can see, there was virtually nobody, and it was pretty desolate on the way out. So a loss for them, but a major gain for us, and a monument that we didn't think we were going to get to see. So I'm not sure if this is going to be my last podcast in India. I'm going to try to do so in just a couple of days. Tomorrow's our last day in Mumbai, and then we're going to be flying out to Aurangabad. I don't know, how much time or how much connectivity I'm going to have there. I'm going to give it a shot in about 3 days after seeing Ellora and Ajanta caves, which are the two last major monuments on our list. So hopefully I'll have another one for you in just a few days. Worst case scenario, I will do it on the day when I get back to the States, which is going to be August the 13th.